Hi there, folks, and welcome to Varsity 360. I'm Mark Coleman from the Virginia Varsity Sports Network, V2SN. Very pleased to be partnered with Fredericksburg.com, the online home of the Freelance Star, to bring you the week's top stories in Fredericksburg area high school sports. Very happy to have from FLS Varsity, the good folks that cover area high school sports for the Freelance Star, the Assistant Sports Editor, Justin Rice. Justin, great to see you again.
Good to see you, Mark.
We'll be talking about events for the week of January 20th, 2014, and let's jump right in with boys basketball. Mountain View and Massaponax tangled this past week, and the Wildcats came out on top 48-43, and by virtue of that victory, they cracked the Varsity 360 top 5, coming in at number 5.
Yeah, Mountain View goes up and with Lucas Brown, the reigning Freelance Star Player of the Year, gets a Conference 15 win against Massaponax, and will slide him in their top 5. Another good test for him this upcoming Friday. They're going to play Brook Point. The Blackhawks have yet to play a Conference 15 game. They've played some of those Conference 15 teams, but have not yet played one that counts in the Conference 15 standings. So I think for both those teams, it's a pretty key test this upcoming Friday.
Sure. Brown still averaging over 20 points a game, a team that lost a lot to graduation, but he's still pouring it in.
Yeah, you know, and Lucas made it go for Mountain View last year as sort of a point guard, and I think this year he's just having to take on a little bit more of the scoring role. He's got probably fewer guys to pass the ball off to, and they're looking to him more and more. But I think he's stepped up to the plate for sure.
So Mountain View cracks the Varsity 360 top 5, coming in at number 5. At number 4, we have the 8-3 Spotsylvania Knights, 2 victories this past week.
Yeah, they get Conference 27 wins against Brentsville and Kettle Run. You know, Brentsville 55-29, they obviously take care of them. And Kettle Run a little closer, 58-47, but that's 2 solid wins. Spotsy's 3-0 in Conference 27. Culpeper's 3-0 in Conference 27. They play on Friday. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah. Let's get some stats from those 2 games for Spotsy. In the game against Brentsville, Darius Carter with 19 points and 7 steals. Bilal Marlowe with 17 points and 6 assists. In the victory over Kettle Run, Alan Courtney with 21 points. Bradley Anderson with 12 points and 12 rebounds. It's pretty a lot of players that can really contribute on any given night.
And I think that's the strength of Spotsylvania's team, is they've got a lot of different guys that can get it done. You know, scoring, rebounding, things like that. They got a lot of similar pieces.
So Spotsy at number 4. At number 3, we have Chancellor. A loss this past week actually to Caroline, but then followed up by a victory over Liberty.
Yeah, you know, and basketball is one of those games. You're going to have a night where you're going to come out and stumble, and I think that's what happened to Chancellor against Caroline. You know, just maybe a little off night, and you know, there's still some margin of error there. Caroline, it's a Battlefield District game, but it's not a Conference 22 game. So for Chancellor, you know, it's certainly one they can put in the past and move forward.
Mark up his experience, no harm there. Emmanuel Royster with 16 points and 4 assists in the victory over Liberty. So Chancellor remains at number 3. At number 2 in the Varsity 360 top 5 for boys, we have Culpeper. Big victory this past week over JM.
Yeah, just steamrolled the Jackets and are moving right along. As I said, improved to 3-0 in Conference 27 play. You know, you look at that Spotsy Culpeper game, you only play 5 Conference 27 games that count in the standings. So one of those 2 teams is going to win that game, be 4-0 with a 1-game lead on the other. And you got to think that Friday's game probably decides the top seed in the Conference 27 postseason tournament.
Henry Butler with a milestone, his 1,000th career point. That's a pretty impressive number at the high school level.
And he's had he's one of several kids that have come through Culpeper the last couple of years that can just score and score and score. And Culpeper scores a lot of points. And obviously Henry's put up the numbers throughout his career.
Sure. So Culpeper number 2, and at number 1 we have Colonial Forge. Victories this past week over Mountain View and Brook Point.
Yeah, no need to change that. Colonial Forge still looks like the best team to us. You know, Marco Hastings, 20 points against Mountain View, 19 points against Brook Point. They just keep pouring up wins, and 10-1's certainly nothing to laugh about. You know, another team it's exam week. A lot of teams are taking this whole week off,
right? And
then you go to Friday and you have some big games. Colonial Forge has got Stafford on Friday, sort of a rivalry game, and Stafford's been definitely a solid team in Conference 4. So for Colonial Forge, it's another big step for them.
Are they concerned about the lack of competition that they faced so far?
Well, that's a good question. You know, I think it's certainly more so for the girls than the boys. The Commonwealth District is still pretty tough, and some of the Prince William schools are present a good opportunity. I think Colonial Forge has faced tough competition, probably more so than the girls have.
Okay. So Forge is at number 1 for the Varsity 360 boys basketball top 5. Let's take a look now at this week in girls basketball. A bit of a shake-up in the Varsity 360 top 5. Stafford now coming in at number 5. The Indians 9-6 on the season. 2 victories this past week over North Stafford and Riverbend.
Yeah, and a good one against Riverbend, 34-33. It's a close game. Grace Epps has 18 points, 14 boards, and 5 blocks. They beat a Conference 4 opponent in Riverbend. That's a great win for them. Epps had 20 points in the win against North Stafford. And I think Stafford is a solid team. They're not spectacular, but they're very solid. And they're certainly going to be, when they get into the conference tournament, they're going to be a team that teams have to respect. They're going to find out. They're going to play Colonial Forge this upcoming Friday in a Conference 4 game. That's a big test for Stafford, obviously. I mean, even to hold Colonial Forge into a close game, right, I think would be a good mark for Stafford.
Sure. Kendall Parker also with 19 points in that victory over North Stafford. So Stafford at number 5 in the Varsity 360 girls basketball top 5, making their first appearance in our top 5 at number 4, Massaponax. The Panthers 6 wins in a row now.
Yeah, 6 straight, and I think Conference 15, it's pretty wide open. Potomac girls look pretty strong. They're undefeated in the conference standings, but Massaponax certainly, maybe they can go catch Potomac, or if nothing else, maybe they can be that second team that comes out and goes to the region play. Right now with 6 straight wins, they beat Mountain View on Friday, 43-35. They've got North Stafford in another conference game this upcoming Friday. I have no reason, I can't see a reason why Massaponax couldn't be that second team out of Conference 15, if not the first team once they get Potomac again in the conference tournament.
And it's all about advancing, right? I mean, we talked about this during the football season. You love to say a chip and a cherry. If you've got a chance, we saw that sort of with James Monroe in football. You win in advance, and sometimes you sneak through, but that's all you need, the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get on the floor and then see what happens. Maybe you're going to have a hot day against a good team, and they're not going to have such a hot day. See what happens. So getting that second spot and getting into the 5A North tournament, I think, is huge. And I think Massaponax has got a great shot to do that out of Conference 15.
Excellent. Well, Massaponax cracks our top 5 at number 4. Moving up to number 3, Colonial Beach, avenging an earlier loss this season to Brook Point this past week.
Well, they played the Blackhawks twice last week.
Right.
They suffered their first loss of the season early, and I think it made a lot of us sit around and go, oh, maybe Colonial Beach wasn't real. They come back on Saturday and win, maybe not comfortably, but they take care of business and get that win back against Brook Point. The Drifters are 12-1 with a really young team, and I think playing a fun brand of basketball.
Yeah, that Havoc style out there, right?
Yeah, they're getting up and down the court and so on, and I think they really enjoy it. They're supposed to have Caroline on Wednesday. You see with the weather how it plays out. I think that's another good test for them. They've certainly played a good schedule with a lot of AAA and AA schools mixed in. For a team that's just a small single A Division I, and I think that's a great step for them.
Well, an impressive record thus far, 12-1.
Yeah, 12. You can't argue with 12-1.
That's hard to beat. At number 2 in the Varsity 360 top 5 for the girls basketball, we have Chancellor. Now 11-3, a victory this past week over Liberty. Big day for Sydney Jackson.
Yeah, that's another Conference 22 victory for Chancellor, and they're really taking control of that conference race. I think it's going to come down to when they play Cortland again, and that'll be another clash, maybe one of the teams in the conference that could potentially give them a game. But Chancellor certainly looks like they're in control of the Conference 22 girls race right now.
And then talking about being in control, our number 1 team, again, in the Varsity 360 for girls, Colonial Forge, now 9-3. They actually did suffer a loss in a invitational tournament this past weekend, I guess, but this is really just a strong team.
Yeah, you're gonna discount that loss. That's to Maury. That's to another team that considers itself a state title contender. And Colonial Forge in that game, Colonial Forge loses 55-49. They were big down 18-4 in the first quarter. They came out with an awful start. They really pieced it together and made a game of it when they had every reason they could have just sort of packed it up. And to make that a close game against another team that's really well regarded around the state, that tells you what Colonial Forge is. This is one of Group 6A's best girls basketball teams, Colonial Forge, and I think that their win over Brook Point again. It's what they've done to the Stafford schools all season long. I don't have a reason. I don't don't see why that's going to stop. Again, we talk about Stafford. They're going to play each other in a Conference 4 game this upcoming Friday. Maybe Stafford's the team that gives them a game.
Well, Forge maintains their stranglehold on the top spot in the girls basketball top 5 from Varsity 360. In other high school sports around the area, Winterfest Invitational at Colonial Forge this past weekend, a big gymnastics event.
Yeah, it's the big regular season meet where Colonial Forge hosts it every year, and all the local Stafford schools are joined in by schools from around the state and around the region. And again, we had a pretty good showing. Stafford wins the blue division. That's what Stafford is. They've always had such a great team. Maybe not always the best individual all-arounders, but they're so deep and they can flood girls at every event and score a lot of team points. And so I think that's sort of a preview of what you're going to see out of Stafford getting into the postseason. With respect to Colonial Forge, probably Stafford you look at in Conference 4 being the team to talk about, and then you move on to the region and see what happens. They'll be facing some strong schools from down in the Virginia Beach area, but that's good news for Stafford, I think, to come out there and win Winterfest like that. I think it's a good sort of checkpoint along the way this season. And then Lexi Holbrook from Colonial Forge, the freshman, is second in the all-around. This is, she's having a great first season for the varsity, and I know they're excited about her. And she alone, when you have one all-arounder scoring a lot of points like that, that gives you a good chance to do well in the team race for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mountain View had a good meet as well.
Yeah, Mountain View was in the green division. They finished second. Emily Brutsky was first in the all-around, and Lauren Graves was third in the all-around. Lauren was the Northwest Region Beam champion last year, a Freelance Star all-area pick. And this is probably one of the better Mountain View teams we've had in the last few years. They're going to get into Conference 2015 in the postseason, I think, with North Stafford and Brook Point, and have a real good chance to do really well.
Excellent. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Big wrestling meet in Conference 22 this past weekend as well.
Yeah, they had their Conference 22 duels. That's where all the conference teams, Eastern View, Fauquier, King George, Chancellor, Cortland, Liberty, they all get together and wrestle a dual meet. Eastern View comes out of that 5-0. I think the big question there, even before the season, talking to the Eastern View coaches, was did Fauquier have enough to beat Eastern View? Eastern View beats Fauquier here in the Conference 22 duels, and they come out in first. King George is fourth, Cortland is fifth, Chancellor sixth. Chancellor's got some good individuals, not quite deep enough in the dual meet format where taking a forfeit really hurts you. Chancellor's not quite deep enough there. They certainly still have some good individuals. Joe Cafaro, I think, to start. Mark Weinstock, some really nice wrestlers there. 4 Chancellor kids undefeated. Austin Jenkins at 145. Logan Sharina, Hosky Aldiva, and Cullen Burnett at 182 goes 5-0 as well. So the Eastern View kids really steamrolling towards the postseason.
A number of victories by pins as well.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that will do it for this week's installment of Varsity 360. Certainly appreciate you watching and hope that you have found this entertaining and enjoyable. Would love to hear feedback from you. We know that there are some wonderful stories out there around the Fredericksburg area and high school sports. We'd like for you to tell us what you would like to hear. If you know of some good stories, please drop me a line. Tweet me at Mark Coleman V2SN. Also, you can always log on to flsvarsity.com for all of the latest in high school sports in the area. That's fls.com, and they are on Twitter at flsvarsity. Thanks again for watching. Please check back next week right here at fredericksburg.com for next week's installment of Varsity 360. For the Virginia Varsity Sports Network, I'm Mark Coleman. Thanks for watching, everyone.